Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since I posted. I thought I would come on and show you my completely redone pedal board. I've been working on a little bit of a blues set for an event coming up in January. And so learning blues, learning slide. And I'm not there yet, but we'll see how this goes. But yeah, basically because of that, I had to redo the whole pedal board. I had a post on Facebook a little earlier showing kind of where I dropped in these other pedals, but that really didn't work because you have to have a certain signal flow in order for everything to work correctly. So I'm going to walk you through this version of the pedal board, play a little bit, show you some of my tones. As usual, starting at the source. I have new strings on the guitar, so if I have to tune up in between here, you just bear with me. New strings, new pick, obviously, just so that starting with a good beginning. The sound goes through my wireless, the G10 wireless, through the pedal board, out of the pedal board into this 1978 classic VT amp that I got from Jared Posen. He's an amazing tech guy. He went through this whole amp and redid everything and just has it sounding amazing. And so it's going straight into there. It's being mic'd up with an SM57, and the mic cable's going straight into the one input of the cinema camera right there, and the other input is my lav mic here. So, so just nothing between the signal from the amp and the camera. Then if anyone's wondering why I'm not using the Gibson Les Paul Custom, which is a great blues guitar, or that new Telly that I was given, which they're both amazing guitars, they have really buttery low action. So if I try to use a slide on those, it just bottoms out. So I don't want to change those guitars. I'm going to leave them just the way they are because they play amazing. But yeah, so that's why I'm using the Strat. It's actually set up a little higher on purpose. And I've got 10s on here, so yeah, it works well with the slide. And then for those wondering why I'm not using my Mesa rig, which is all tube, and that Marshall 412, it's just so big to haul around. It doesn't fit in our car and that. Now this PV, I love the sound of this. It does have a tube power amp section. So in order to get a good starting place with the amp, I've got it cranked up pretty loud. You can't hear that in the room on the mic, but I've got it turned up a fair amount so that I'm pushing those power tubes a bit and getting some breakup. And then on the preamp section, I'm also driving that a little harder so that I just get just that touch of breakup together. And even though it's not a tube preamp section, it sounds all right. I really like it. So here's my basic tones. I'll walk you through that with no pedals on. So this is just from the guitar, just into the amp, and I'll walk you through my mindset of the tones on the guitar as a whole. So basically, anytime you're using an amp with pedals, the general rule of thumb is you want to set the tones on the amp for the darkest sound you're going to have. So for me, that would be my neck pickup, and I generally start with my tones on the neck pickup at 8. I don't like it wound right out because it's so wiry. So I'll back it off. And so I have that set to 8, and then my other tone is set to 3. Now the reason being is because those will be my darkest sounds, and then from there I can add top end. So here's my basic sound of the... So that's just straight from the guitar to the amp. So you can hear it's got a little bit of breakup. So even if I play really soft, it's clean. But if I dig in, right? So yeah, it's got some of that drive. Right? Okay, so that's kind of my starting place there. As far as tones go, There are times when I will, I use that front neck position for jazzier stuff, but for blues, it'll work really good as well. And occasionally I might boost that up on that pickup, but very rarely. I usually leave it on this warmer setting, almost to kind of give me more of a humbucker sound. When I switch to the middle, between the middle and neck pickup sound, then I'll add the top end, and that's where the selectors come in. So I'll boost, for this tone, I boost both knobs wide open. Now I need to say that this bottom tone control is actually a TBX tone control. So what happens there is from 0 to 5, it works like a normal tone knob. So that's the whole range. But if I push past 5, it's adding all this extra top end. So I boost that all the way up for this, this in-between position. And you can hear right away that's a funkier sort of sound. No pun intended. But yeah, so right? So lots kind of brighter, clearer. And then if I switch to the middle pickup position, I'll leave the tone up on that middle knob for a wiry sort of kind of cowboyish sound. Right? And then I'll back it off to my standard 8 for more of almost maybe a bit jazzier. Yeah. Right, just to take that little brittleness off of there. Then when I switch to my kind of standard strat position, which is the middle and bridge, that's where I'll have my bottom, my bridge pickup rolled back to 5. So that's the max setting on a normal strat. And then my middle knob for the middle pickup, I have that turned up. So that gives me that which you all know that sound, right? And then for my kind of just the back bridge pickup position, that's when I'll roll it off to 3 or yeah, roll it back to 3. And that's my standard sort of single back position. And that'll drive a lot of the overdrives and distortions that I run as well. Okay, so that's the guitar part of it, and just those tones. I'll roll these back to kind of where I keep them. And then, so then for the pedal part, how the signal is running now is generally like a regular pedal board now. So it's going, from my point of view, from the right-hand side all the way through to the left-hand side. Now, the one thing that's in the view here, the pedal view with my phone, the Sheeran looper is there and the FS5s are there, but they're not being used. Those I use for looping on my acoustic set. They're still on the board, but just I keep everything together. But also, because I'm running a lot of high gain stuff like this amazing Sovereign pedal and extra compression, the LED in that Sheeran looper actually gives me some noise as it's fading in and out. So obviously don't run into that problem at all with the acoustic guitar, but with this I do. So if I want to loop with this, if I ever wanted to, I'd either have to figure out a solution for that or just use the looper in the M9, which it does have a fully featured looper, not as long of a time and not a 2-channel looper like the Sheeran, but that's something that you know, Headrush will have to fix, I guess, if other people are running into that noise issue. Okay, so then from your point of view, it comes into my wah pedal first, which is how I prefer to do this. Some people will put their wah later in the chain. I find their tone is super bright and piercing, especially when you get into that higher setting. And so like basically if I play that, just give you an idea showing that. You can hear it, how it really rips your head off on those top frequencies. So I will run my compression after it, and that levels some of those peaks out, right? And then with the compression going into a drive section, it's a really controlled tone throughout the entire throw of the pedal. So as a so a lot smoother, right? And so that's the first stage, is the wah. Then it goes into the compression sustainer, obviously. I'm using that actually as a bit of a boost as well. So if I play just the standard tone, right? The G chord that every guitar player loves, that's straight through. Now listen to the difference as I play and engage the compression pedal. You can hear it's got a little bit of a boost there. And actually, I normally have that up a little bit hotter. But yeah, so without. So yeah, so it's driving it. Obviously gives me some sustain, which I need with the slide and running, like trying to do blues stuff. Sometimes I'm pushing my pedal up and trying to get as much sound as I can from the slide. But yeah. And then, so from the compression pedal, it goes into my volume pedal, this Ernie Ball volume pedal. And that I'm using obviously for swells, you know. Which really helps me with the slide to get more, as I play the slide, I can slide in and slide in. And then push the pedal down to keep more sustain, you know, kind of in concert with that compression sustainer. And then from there, it goes into this Sovereign, this Wampler Sovereign pedal. And this is crazy. This is an amazing, I love this thing, but it's not mine. John Pohl, a really good friend of ours, very close friend, gave this to Caleb, my son Caleb, for his birthday, believe it or not, this past year. So Caleb is graciously lending this to me. Caleb is graciously lending this to me for this blues night. And so here's the Sovereign just by itself. So that's the clean tone with nothing. And that's the Sovereign on with nothing else. So it's not a crazy gain stage, but that is my main gain stage there. So if I hit it hard, really breaks up nice, but if I play soft, cleans up amazingly well. So I love that. And then the final sort of gain stage I have is in the M9, and that's here. Now what this is, it's basically functioning like a tube screamer, I guess. It's a tube drive modeled program in here. But just a very, very tiny bit of drive. Like I almost get more drive out of the amp, but you can hear what I'm getting mostly from that is that tube screamer mid-range, sort of a darker sound, more mid-range cut, which I need with the slide. And that will boost it for like solos and things like that to get it out into the mix. So that's basically what I'm using to stack with these other stages. So obviously if I stack it with the compression sustainer, it sounds more like an overdrive that way. If I stack it with the Sovereign, it just has that mid push, but it's more creamy. So without the boost, right? So there. And then if I layer it all with the compression sustainer, it's kind of over the top, and that's a... And that's that regular overdrive. Right? So nice sweet sound there. Okay, well, sweet to some people, annoying to others. But anyways, so that's the drive section of the pedal board. Then from there, it goes into the effects section of the M9, which I'm using. That's all my effects there. So I have this set up for, obviously the first stage is the drive, but I also have another compression stage here. Now, you're probably wondering, why on earth would you stack two compressors? But there's a reason. Here's just that compressor by itself. And here's the CS2 by itself. Sound very similar, right? The reason is because this is actually a CS2 model, but you can tell right away there's a difference, right? And here's the modeled one. There's not as much gain, obviously, but that's not the only difference. This one just sounds a bit, well, not as good. But the reason why I have this extra stage in there is because, especially with the slide, and if I'm trying to get as much sustain as possible, that's an extra stage I can use. If I don't need the gain there, I can use the Sovereign and just use that. But also, it gives me a tone for more, and I'm not sure how much I'll use this, but it's more of that spanky, for lack of a better word, sound, kind of like that 80s sort of sound. So even if I use a brighter tone, turn this up to say 5, and use that Strat type of tone. So yeah, it's got a really, you can hear it almost on the attack and the clicks. And that really works well for mutes as well. And then if you're using a darker sound, it actually kind of clarifies it a bit. So say if I use that same little... You can hear how it makes it a little clearer. So you probably don't want the attack there though. But yeah, so that's why I use that other compression setting in there. And then the next kind of bank over is my modulation effects. So I use the top one as my chorusing. Yeah, so if I leave... Welcome to the 80s! But yeah, that's the chorus there, pretty standard. Sounds great with if you're doing more, if I roll this back, kind of that jazz chorus stuff there. There, and then the one underneath that is my tremolo. Now that might seem a little extreme. I mean, for some stuff you want it even more like a heavier depth than that. But yeah, some might find that's extreme, but what you're going to notice is if I'm playing something live, I will turn up my effects a little bit more than say you'd normally do in the studio, because when you're filling a room, miking up an amp, filling a room, those effects kind of get soaked into the room and you don't hear them as much. So my delays will be a lot hotter, the repeats, you know, those type of things, than they would in the studio. So this, what I've got that cranked up more than I probably would normally. And, but yeah, it works. All right, so next in the line there is my 2 delays. And I prefer to run modulated delays. So what's happening is the pitch is actually cycling through the 0 point and creating this almost like a chorusing effect against itself. When you hear just the delays, they're not chorusing. But as one delay happens and you still have your regular sound sustaining, then you'll hear this floating type of sound. And that's kind of, I think, patterned after, there was an old kind of tabletop analog delay that Yamaha used to make. And a lot of guitar players would have that sitting on their amp. And you could find a sweet spot there where the delays would just float. And this thing has that capability, just modeled. And so of the 2 delays, I have a metered delay, which is set so that as you tap tempo to the BPM of the song, then it'll be locked to that song, right? And the other one is a dotted 8th note. So that gives me that in-between sound which you need. So for the first one, if I just tap tempo to a standard, you can hear it's a slapback. If I tap tempo to like a standard, well, I'll just use a rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So that's to that 30-second note. Now if I tap tempo to half notes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? It gives me a little bit bigger of a room sound. And so, or even if I'm doing a... just a little bit bigger sound. And then if I tap tempo to whole notes, then it gives me my actual metered quarter note delay. So, so if I'm doing that same thing there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? That's a pretty standard delay. Now, the reason why I have 2 separate delays here, what did I just do? I must have held it for the looper. I don't want the looper. So the reason why I have another delay layer for dotted notes is because, say if you're doing mutes, so I'll say if I'm doing mutes with that type of delay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, you can hear it gets a little messy when the notes are flamming against each other if my timing isn't dead on, right? So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so you can hear it kind of a little bit messy. Whereas if I switch over to the dotted 8ths and I tap that in, 1, 2, 3, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so that it cleans it up and the delays happen in between later. And so it just makes it for a little cleaner signal. And also if you listen, see that pitch drop? So that's what I was talking about. Gives it like a really nice floating sound, right? With that type of a delay. So those are both set up that way. Then the next stage is my main reverb. So this is a Sonic Cake ambience pedal that Caleb gave me for Christmas a couple of years back. And it's actually a reverb delay pedal, but I'm using it just for my main reverb. So if I play just this dry sound there, And then I hit it. So that's a room sound, and that's my main reverb that I have on 90% of the time. So yeah, as you play, right? So it's got that nice splosh, I guess. So that's my main reverb. What I will do is if I'm doing something that's a lot more ambient, then I'll stoop down, like I'll do right now, and I just switch that to a long, I think it's a long plate, and that sounds like this. Right? So that's more... Right? So, and I'll use that obviously with chorusing or with delay, and as you stack those things, it just gets more and more ambient, right? So let me switch that back to my standard setting there. So there's my general, my basic reverb, and then yeah, that is kind of the whole tour of the pedal board there. For slide, I guess I could play you a little preview of kind of the blues sort of tones that I'm getting, or one of them, I guess, or a couple. So yeah, basically, say if I put on the compression sustainer and the sovereign, then so. Then if I add the boost in there, then all the mids come alive. So. Yeah, so there's a little preview of that. So both tones work well. Yeah, and obviously I can use it with the you know, the neck pickup as well. And that's what I mean. You got to set up your tone for the darkest sound, and it still works. It still has clarity, right? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. As usual, I love you all. And until the next one, God bless.